Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're cracking a case that pretty much breaks all the classic rules of genetics. We're talking about a second, kind of hidden genome that you only get from your mom. And get this, it holds the keys to your energy, your deep ancestry, and some really baffling medical conditions.
So, let's kick things off with a puzzle, one that's stumped families and doctors for ages. Picture this. A genetic disease that plays by its own, very weird set of rules. A pattern that honestly just doesn't make any sense at first glance.
So check out these rules. It's kind of wild. A mother with the condition, she passes it to all of her children. Every single one. But a father, he never passes it on. And to make it even weirder, one kid might get hit really hard by the disease, while their brother or sister has super mild symptoms or maybe none at all. You know, your standard high school genetics, all those Punnett squares, they can't explain this. It completely breaks the mold. So what on earth is going on here?
Well, to solve this mystery, we've got to look past the DNA you're probably thinking of. The real answer isn't in that massive instruction book in our cell's nucleus. No, the culprit is actually hiding in plain sight, inside every single one of our cells, and it's running its own separate genetic program.
Okay, let's get into it. Inside the nucleus of your cells, you've got your main genome, right? Let's call that the giant encyclopedia you get from both your parents. But then, you've also got these little powerhouses floating around in your cells called mitochondria. And here's the kicker. They have their own DNA. And it's tiny. If the main genome is an encyclopedia, this is more like a post-it note with just a handful of super important instructions. And you only get it from one place, your mother's egg.
I mean, look at that number. Just 37 genes. That's it. It really shows you how small this second genome is. But don't let that number fool you for a second. These 37 genes are absolutely critical. They're basically the operating manual for the power plants in every single one of your cells.
So how did scientists even figure this out? Well, they didn't start with humans. Not at all. The first clues came from studying some much simpler life forms. It was like a detective story that played out in the lab for years. And our first big lead? It came from, of all things, baker's yeast. See, some yeast colonies, they called them petites, grow really slow because their little mitochondrial engines are broken. But there's this one type, the suppressive petite, that's really fascinating. When it hooks up with a healthy yeast cell, its faulty mitochondria don't just hang around. Oh no. They launch a complete takeover.
So how in the world do these mutant mitochondria pull off a hostile takeover? Well, it's basically a two-part strategy. First, it's a race. The mutant DNA is often smaller, so it can copy itself way faster than the healthy stuff, and it just overwhelms it by sheer numbers. And second, pure sabotage. When two mitochondria bump into each other and fuse, the mutant DNA can actually invade the healthy DNA and, rewrite it into the broken version. It's pretty ruthless. Okay, so the yeast was a great first clue. But to really nail this down, scientists needed a smoking gun, and they found it in a fungus called Neurospora. They did this really clever experiment called a reciprocal cross. First, they took a slow-growing pokey mother and a healthy father. Then, they flipped it, a healthy mother with a pokey father.
And the results? Wow, they couldn't have been clearer. The outcome for the offsprings depended completely on the mom. If the mother was pokey, 100% of the kids were pokey. If the mother was healthy, 100% were healthy. That was it, the smoking gun. It proved the trait was being passed down through the stuff in the mother's cell, the cytoplasm, where the mitochondria live, and had nothing to do with the dad's DNA.
But the final piece of the puzzle, the one that made it all just click, it came from a really beautiful place. A place where you could actually see this type of inheritance happening right in front of you.
We have to go back over 100 years for this one. A botanist named Carl Corns was looking at his 4 o'clock plants, and he noticed some had these cool patchy leaves, part green, part white. And he figured out that the baby plant's color depended entirely on the branch the seed came from. So a seed from a green branch, it grew into a green plant. A seed from a patchy branch, you got a mix. And the pollen from the father plant, it didn't matter at all. Another perfect example of maternal inheritance.
Okay, so now we've got our clues from yeast, from a fungus, and from flowers. We are armed and ready. Let's go back to that original human mystery and finally solve this thing.
All right, the first big idea you need to get is a word called heteroplasmy. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It just means that inside one of your cells, you can have a mix of mitochondria, some healthy, some mutated. It's not all or nothing, you know? You can have a whole crowd of them in there, and they're not all identical.
And here's the thing. Your cells are tough. They can actually handle a bunch of these faulty mitochondria. The healthy ones just pick up the slack. But, and this is a big but, If that percentage of bad ones gets too high and crosses a certain line, what we call a threshold, the cell just runs out of juice. It can't keep up, and that's when symptoms start to show up. This chart shows it perfectly. Look on the left, 20% mutant mitochondria, no problem. The cell can handle it. It's below the threshold. But then look at the right. When that number jumps up to 70%, that's it. The cell is over the edge. It's past its breaking point, the power goes out, and things stop working.
And this is what finally solves the puzzle about the siblings with different symptoms. When a mother's body makes egg cells, the mitochondria inside get sorted out randomly. It's literally a lottery. So one egg might just happen to get a huge dose of the mutated ones, while another egg gets almost none. And that's it. That's why one child can be really sick while their brother or sister is perfectly fine.
And this also explains why these diseases often hit specific parts of the body, right? Think about it. Tissues that are super energy hungry, your brain, your heart, and yep, your optic nerve, they just can't afford an energy shortage. They have a really low tolerance for failure. So they hit that critical threshold way faster than other parts of your body. That's exactly why a disease like LHON goes straight for the eyes. So, there you have it. Mystery solved. But the story of this other genome, our second genome, is so much bigger than just this one puzzle. I mean, yeah, understanding this is huge for diagnosing diseases, for sure. But think about this. Because it's passed down almost perfectly from mother to child, generation after generation, it's like a genetic time capsule. Scientists can use it to trace our family trees way, way back. We're talking tens of thousands of years, following a single, unbroken maternal line that connects all of us.
So the next time you think about your DNA, just remember, you've got two stories inside you. There's the big one, the one written by both your parents, but then there's this other one, this short, powerful, and kind of mysterious story that you only got from your mom, who got it from her mom, and so on, all the way back. It's the thing that's powering you right now. It connects you to our deepest history, and who knows what other secrets it's still waiting to tell us.